blessings that you bestow upon us, not the least of which, Father, is the blessing to be here together and gathered together as the house of the Lord to worship you in spirit and in truth. And we do pray, Father, that you'll find every heart open, every mind open to the counsel of your word, that we might be strengthened by it, nourished by it, equipped for service here and prepared for eternity. Father, I'm so thankful for everyone who's here today. I'm thankful Penny's back with us, Howell is here, and so many others. You know, we just been praying so much for others that have been afflicted with different problems that it just fills our heart to see them back with us whenever they can be here. And Father, I'm mindful too of Phyllis and Norma, or not Norma, but Phyllis and Jim and others. And I am mindful of Norma. She is a dear, dear soul, and I'm thankful that she was here with us for as long as she was. Precious memories, just indeed. Father, I thank you so much for our young people that are here and for those that are getting ready to go to college. I pray that the seed that has been planted in their hearts as they grow up will bear fruit to your glory, that they'll be strong and be kept safe from harm. I ask your blessings, Father, upon our Bible class teachers this morning. I pray that they'll be wise and careful in what they say. We thank you so much, Father, for the hope that we have through Jesus, your Son and our Lord. It's in his name that I pray. Amen.
We're adjourned to our class.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess we're working, huh? Okay. Somebody didn't take the battery out of this. So. Working too good, maybe. All right. We're in Ecclesiastes chapter 11. You're fussing with that, aren't you, preacher? Yeah, okay. In Ecclesiastes chapter 11, we've been talking about the things that Solomon said in this speech, or are written in this book, this presentation to us. Solomon, the man with all the wisdom, the God-given wisdom that he got when he was young. He's older now when he says this, obviously. And he's going to, in a few verses, he's going to start into 6. We talked about making use of all of our opportunities, and now it continues a little bit along the same thought, but he says in verse 7, and we'll read verse 7 and 8, truly the light is sweet, and it is pleasant for the eyes to behold the sun. But if a man lives many years and rejoices in them all, yet let him remember the days of darkness, for they will be many. All 7, verse 11, he says, wisdom is good with an inheritance is profitable to those who see the sun. So seeing the sun is another way of saying being alive, I think. Having life. So it's pleasant for the eyes to behold the sun means life is good. Now, he's changing his tune here a little bit, because for the first 3 or 4 or 5 chapters, he said there's nothing in life that means anything. You know, it's meaningless. It's vanity. It's all, everything physical is vanity. Now he's saying it's good to have life, which it is. Yeah. Even though, like Solomon, we know that a lot of things aren't as important as they seem to be. Maybe some things urgent and not important, and we talked about that a little bit. So then, what are these in verse 8? The days of darkness.
But you don't see them until you've lived many years.
Okay.
Like Rod said, when you first start out, I mean, everything is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada.
Well,
Doesn't work out that way.
well, yeah, but aren't there some times when life is good, even yet?
Yes.
Even if you would live to be 99 like Norma did, or almost 99. Life, there's some pleasant things. And by that time, you've learned to pause maybe and enjoy some things a little more, and that kind of thing. So the days of darkness, tell me about that. What do you think? What are days of darkness then, Ken, if life is the light?
Well, I mean, you don't have days of death. I mean, you have
Yeah.
a day of death. So I don't necessarily think it's talking about dying, the way it's worded. Could be a reference to getting close to that, but I think it's talking more about the days of the times of maybe when your health fails, your health starts to fail, and you start dealing with stuff you never had to deal with before, those kind of things.
Okay,
I think those could be dark days.
those are dark days. Rod?
Is he talking like the longevity, like you said, a long life? But there are cases where,
People don't.
people don't.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
fading in the prime of their life.
Yes.
Even when they're little.
Yeah. So, but did they enjoy life? Did they have good? Yeah, probably they did. And so he's using this, beholding the sun or seeing the sun as life, and this darkness, I think, and we'll look at that some more, but I think it could be death. But it could be, as Ken said, when things turn sour. And it could be that at the end of life, you only remember kind of bad things, and you mark your life by all the catastrophes and all the, and we tend to do that too. Pam?
Well, it could be, let him remember the days of darkness.
Yeah.
We learn from those trials that we go through, and we need to remember the lessons we learn from those times.
Yes. That's right. And we got to keep track of things that way. Sam?
I think it's just bad times of life, and if you go to Job 14:1, he tells you in that too that man's days are few and full of trouble.
Well, yes.
So I think it's kind of the same idea.
All right, let's look at another passage in Job. It's chapter 10, and we'll begin at verse 20. This is Job talking in this passage. He says, are not my days few? Cease, leave me alone, that I may take a little comfort before I go to the place from which I shall not return, to the land of what? To the land of darkness and the shadow of death. The land is as dark as darkness itself, as the shadow of death without any where even the light is like darkness. Job. And he is talking about the grave there. Somebody get John 9, verse 4. This is Jesus talking. And this is Jesus talking whenever the centurion, if you remember the story, the centurion came and asked him to heal his servant. Jesus says, I'll go do that. And the centurion, wait a minute. He says, I'm in command of a lot of soldiers. I say to this one, go, and he goes, and this one, go do something, and it happens. He says, all you have to do is speak the word, and my servant will be healed. And Jesus said, I never saw faith like that. He said, and people started to wonder about how he's going to do something for this Roman soldier. He's not a Jew at all, not an Israelite. And what did Jesus say in John chapter 9, verse 4?
I must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. The night is coming when no one can work.
Okay, so I think like Jesus, Solomon might be using this light and darkness as a a metaphor for life and death. You know, from our physical perspective, which is how Solomon presented this whole book, from the physical perspective, if we drive by a cemetery, those people have been in those graves for a long, long time. Now, we have no idea how much time has passed for them. It's probably none, because they don't have a body, they don't have anything physical. They're alive, they're where they are, but how time passes, or if time is relevant to them, we don't know. But to us, it's a long time. You know, these cemeteries around here, nobody was buried in there before the early 1800s. But there are places where there have been people buried for years and years and years and years and years. And from our physical perspective, I think, and I really think that might be what he's talking about here. From our perspective, those days of darkness. You know, back in chapter 7 of Ecclesiastes, he says, the dead don't know anything. And in chapter 9 and verse 10, it says, whatever your hand finds, do with your might, for there is no work or device or knowledge or wisdom in the grave where you are going. Think about that. Talk about that. What do I have that wrong? Could he be talking about? And there are a lot of things he could be talking about. And I realize that he does this and he gives this, and this is inspired by God so that we think about it. But I think that's a good, and it matches up with what he says later on. But I think it's a good thing. So let him remember the days of darkness. They will be many. And then he says, all that is coming is vanity. Verse 8.
It says there, if a man lives many years and rejoices in them all. Okay, so.
That's those days of light, or
okay,
those
so
seeing the sun.
Is that just, when he's talking about rejoicing, is that just life in general?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, in that previous verse it says, truly the light is sweet and it's pleasant for the eyes to behold the sun. He says, life is good. And then he says, if a man lives many years and rejoices in all those years, yet let him remember.
Okay, so is he talking about missed opportunity?
Well, but he talked about opportunities in the verses just before that, so it could be. And you know, when those dark days, if we take that to mean when we're in the grave, when we're in Hades, we will think about it. I think we will. Remember, we have a story about a fellow who thought about his brothers. That's in Luke chapter 16. The rich man and Lazarus. And what was the story? Lazarus
lived a bad life, or didn't have much all his life.
Yeah.
He died and went into Abraham's bosom. This guy had everything and didn't share anything.
Yeah.
He ended up, and he wanted his brothers not to come there.
Yeah, and it said, you know, in hell he lifted up his eyes being in torment.
Right.
Yeah, and he saw Lazarus way off in Abraham's bosom.
Can you imagine Lazarus eating the garbage that fell from the rich man's table? It would be kind of like we see homeless people going through garbage bins. Lazarus must have had an awful life.
Yes. Yeah. So when the rich man said to Abraham, send Lazarus to my brothers. Well, think about this a minute. What if Abraham said, okay, Lazarus, you go, and you talk to his brothers. Okay, and he came back to those 5 brothers, and he says, I'm Lazarus. He says, I died, and the angels took me to Abraham's bosom. And you know, we were there in Hades, and your brother sent me back because he's in hell. Your brother's in hell. And he sent me to warn you. What would those brothers say?
It wasn't that.
They would say, no, wait a minute. you're Lazarus, and we know about you. We saw you there at our brother's house. And he was clothed in purple and fared sumptuously every day. They said, he's not in hell. God loved our brother. Does that sound like? Yeah,
Sounds like today.
sounds like what we think. And that's why Abraham told him, if they don't hear Moses and the prophets, there's no sense of sending somebody back from the dead. It's not going to work. They already know too much, they think. So we know, and we had to get stories like that so that we can relate to. And I think even that story tells some things in a physical sense that maybe that's just so we can understand, because we're only physical and we don't know. And I never will know until I get there, just what all about this. But
What do you think for they will be many?
the days will be many. Well, that's
It
what
says there, for they will be, days of darkness, for they will be many.
yeah, the days of darkness will be many. And again, from the only physical things, I mean, time is a physical dimension, like length, width, and height. So things that are not physical are not ruled by those dimensions. All right, that's why a spirit apparently has no dimension, has no length, and it has no time. And I don't know, beyond that, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. But from the perspective of, people that we buried when we were kids, they've been there a long time. Some of them have been there longer than they were walking the earth. And I think that's what he's kind of relating to here. Again, it could be interpreted other ways, but I really think that this is maybe what he's talking about, because he talks about life, and then I think he talks about death, and he says all that is coming is vanity, and he's already said that everything that's here now is vanity, and all the things that we do are vain and it's meaningless. And Patty.
If you think about the physical life that Solomon lived, unless it was in his head and his dealings with God, because he had everything.
Yeah.
How many dark days could he have had while he was alive?
Well, that's, and we talked about that before, when Absalom and David were fighting, and David fled from Absalom, and David had to get out of Jerusalem and all his household with him. Old Solomon was just a kid, and he was in that household.
Yeah.
There was a dark day.
That would have been dark.
Yeah, those kinds of things. So yeah, but he had, by all measures, had a good life. But so did the rich man in the story that Jesus told.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
All the women would have been pretty dark days.
yeah. Well, that could have contributed some dark days, having 1,000 wives. But
It's probably the wrong thing to bring up today, Rod.
yeah,
We seem to be honoring the women today.
yeah. Okay, scratch what Rod said. But yeah, does somebody have something? Okay, Matthew 8, and we were talking about rich man and Lazarus there. Matthew 8, I think it's verse 11. Maybe not. We'll find it. Yeah, Matthew 8, verse 11. I say to you that many will come from east and west and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. So those guys that died a long time ago are gonna be sitting down with us in the kingdom of heaven? That's what it says. That's what Jesus said. And when the beggar died, when Lazarus died, the angels carried him to where Abraham was. So we get a picture of something good if we get there, and something not so good if we don't. Now that rich man, he will raise in the resurrection, and there'll be that day when the graves send forth the people that died, and we who are alive will be caught up with the Lord in the air, and there so shall we ever be with the Lord in Thessalonians. But those days, if there is time, if a time exists in the grave, those would be dark days. And from our perspective, those people that have been in that grave a long time, it's darkness. It's not, there's nothing to enjoy. There's no knowledge or device in the grave where you go, he says. Have we got everybody? Is anybody mad at me now?
That's the thing, I don't think we understand.
Yeah.
We don't understand the Hades thing, maybe. I mean, so was the poor guy, he was conscious, right?
Yeah, you know, apparently,
All right,
but he was in ecstasy. He didn't say anything in the story.
the rich man knew that he was in trouble,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah,
I don't know, I mean,
yeah.
you must have some idea what's happening, right?
Yeah, I guess. If there's no time, that's what puzzles me. If there's no time in the grave, then how did the rich man know that his brothers were still back in life and that kind of thing? So I don't know.
They weren't there.
They weren't there, yeah. But and then over in Revelation, the souls that were beheaded, they cried, "How long, O Lord?" So yeah. In relating to us in a physical way, the scriptures give us some puzzles, I think. But he says all that is coming is vanity. And it'll be just the same thing and the same thing until we're in that paradise with Abraham and with Isaac and Jacob and those ones that have gone before.
So is that what he means when he says all that is coming is vanity? The fact that it's just gonna be till the judgment?
I guess because he's been talking all along that everything's kind of vanity. You know, once in a while, if you stop and enjoy something, that's what you get. That's all. And we, Randy.
I said, you mentioned this quite a while back in your study, that word translated vanity is that Hebrew word havel, which means just like a breath. It's kind of similar to the one that James used in James chapter 4.
Vapor, yeah.
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 And so, you know, everything we do in life is like that vapor.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
the only thing we're going to carry with us is what we do for Jesus.
Yeah, that's what James says. Life is but a vapor. It appears for a short time and then vanishes away.
The equivalence is vanity.
Yeah. But we, especially in our culture, we have all these efforts to prolong our life because that's the only thing we know is life, and we want to hang on to it and want to keep it. And I'm reminded of a story of the old pioneer where it said right before he died, they greased his back with lard, and after that, he went downhill really fast. That's in some of those genealogies, I think. But, yeah, we make all those efforts and we do everything we can, and you get in that medical system and you get frustrated and whatever it is, and at the end, the same end happens to everybody, and so if you're not careful, you can get discouraged, and we don't want to do that, but we've got to have something to look forward. We got to have something to look forward to. Go ahead, Randy.
I just say it's not that all of life is bad or all of it's wasted,
Yeah,
you know, because there are things we can enjoy if we put God first.
Yeah.
There's a lot we can enjoy.
well, and then you think of passages like in Malachi where it says that God seeks godly offspring. And we're the only souls in creation. Angels don't have offspring. So it's not going to happen there. That's why angels, when they sin, were just cast away right now. We're not waiting for anything because you have no chance. You're not going to do better if you're an evil angel, and your kids won't ever exist. So why are we keeping you around? And if you think about it from that perspective, that's maybe why we get to hang around, because there's always a chance that somebody will turn this around. And that gives us an incentive to make an effort to turn things around and to make sure our kids get taught right and make sure that we're the example, because that's how they're taught. We can set them down in classrooms all their life, and they learn by watching us. And if we believe something and know something, then they'll perceive that. They'll see what we believe, and they will think about it. And maybe not consciously. It'll just evolve into, that's what'll make them better people. And that's what'll make successive generations better. And so that gives us a reason to make that conscious effort. Go.
Jesus said, when talking to Israel, I would that I could gather you like a hen gathers her chicks under her wing, but you wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't come. Yeah.
So I've never really, maybe you've seen that. Is that the way it is with chickens when they try to gather their
Yeah. Well, but with chickens, when the hen, if it's going to storm or something, she'll get her wings around. But they come. Yeah. And that's why I used that analogy. I tried to do that like a chicken, but, well, I don't know, you just wouldn't come. But the chicks do it. Yeah. They, as soon as mom put their wings out like this, they're under there. That's where they want to be. Yeah. And so that's the poignant story that Jesus showed. That's in nature, that works. With people, didn't work. Don't work. Didn't work with Israel. Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou who killest the prophets. That's what. Yeah, right. Yeah. So. Okay, more thoughts? He's going to. All right, we have another speaker coming after this bell. It's Colton. So we'll kind of wind up here. We can begin, because this is a natural stopping point anyhow. Actually, if you read this over and over, chapter 12 should start with verse 9 of chapter 11, because the thought changes and he starts into this remembering your Creator. So we'll start with verse 9 next week. Thanks for your attention, your participation, your thoughts. Appreciate this. In a couple of weeks, we'll be winding up this class. You want this? I'll leave it on.
I wonder if you ought to put that other mic on him. I don't think that one works that well.
2, 3.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Okay, it works. I will be reading from the Beginner's Bible, the beginning and Adam and Eve. In the beginning, the world was empty, darkness was everywhere, but God had a plan. God spirited the light from the darkness. Let there be light, he said, and the light turned on. He called the light day, and he called the darkness night. This was the end of the very first day. Then God said, I will divide the waters. He separated the waters in the clouds above from the waters in the ocean below. He called the space between them sky. This was the end of the second day. Next, God rolled back the waters, and some dry ground appeared. He made plants of many shapes and colors. He made mountains, hills, and valleys. This was the end of the third day. God put a shining sun in the sky for daytime. He put a glowing moon and twinkling stars in the sky for nighttime. This was the end of the fourth day. On the fifth day, God made swishy fish and squiggly creatures to live in the ocean. Then God made birds to fly across the sky. On the sixth day, God made animals to creep, crawl, hop, and gallop. Then from the dust, God made the most wonderful creature of all, a person. God named him Adam. On the seventh day, God rested. Adam and Eve. God had planted a beautiful garden for Adam in a place called Eden. A river flowed through the garden. Adam loved his new home. His job was to name all the animals and care for the garden. Adam loved all the animals, but he couldn't find a friend that was just right for him. So God created a woman.
Put your hands down. Keep your hands down. Okay.
Adam named her Eve. She was just right for Adam. Adam and Eve loved each other of God's. Together they took care of God's garden.